Hello and welcome to the Stretch Zone. My name is Glenn Videlco. I'm a professional coach and facilitator in talent teams and leadership and author of the Stretch Zone. In this post, we'll explore confidence and failure, exploring the question, how can we navigate setbacks and failure differently, helping us to think about ourselves and about our confidence differently. So, what's our typical experience? In situations under pressure, one of our biggest impediments to our ideas and potential that can blow our confidence out of the water is our fear of failure. And in our results-driven, hurry-up world, it's a big one. When triggered by a fear of failure, what can follow is a chicken and egg scenario, where the less confident we feel, the less likely we're to be at our best. The more likely we'll fear failure, the more we'll question ourselves. And untangling ourselves from this is entirely learnable. So, what's the cost of our fear of failure? Imagine how many ideas have never come to fruition, how much human potential has never been realized, how many dreams and aspirations never see the light of day, all because of a fear of failure. Something that is mostly no more than an imaginary idea. And the cost, individually, nationally, in our organizations and teams, is beyond measure. So, what drives our fear of failure? In our results-driven world, success and achievement are seen as an ideal to aspire towards, and for very good reason. Yet this drive to achievement can get out of hand and unmeasured, and in the absence of discretion, it can become a problem. So, what is failure? Failure is no more than an idea, often an imaginary idea. And as an imaginary idea, failure is not an actual present reality. It's only a potential future reality. In effect, what we mostly fear does not exist in the real world. It only exists in our fictional world, in the mind. Yet, mistaking vocational training for education, we don't realize we are conditioned into a state where we are unable to discern fiction from reality, and we become deeply entrapped. So, what has failure got to do with confidence? Stepping aside from unhelpful stereotypes, confidence is not the absence of failure. Equally, confidence is not the presence of success. Confidence is neither defined nor limited by failure and success. Confidence only increases our chances of success. Essentially, success and failure and confidence, while related, are very different things. Confidence is our inner state of being in the present. Success is mostly an outcome of our actions in the future. However, when we associate confidence with success, not only do we amplify the pressure, to an already pressured situation, what often follows is circumstantial confidence. And so long as we are winning, we are confident. Yet as soon as that winning feeling dissipates, our pretense of confidence dissipates in equal measure. When we learn to channel our efforts and energy differently, while our fear of failure doesn't really go away, instead, with real confidence, we are no longer distracted and disabled by a fear of failure. And with our attention where it's needed, success and learning are more likely. So, how can we reframe failure? Firstly, contrary to how we might feel, our fear of failure is actually a good sign. It means we're stretching ourselves outside our comfort zones, living life and learning. Secondly, when we hear the backstories of high achievers, a common thread is they will have failed the most. Essentially, they will have failed their way to success. The way Albert Einstein put it is, failure is success in progress. Thirdly, failure is actually a great teacher. With each failure comes learning about the task at hand, and more importantly, learning to develop strength of character, which is the master key for everything we do. So, what is an alternative to failure? An alternative to failure is tenacity, that inner commitment and resolve to never give up. As we overcome setbacks and failures, real or imagined. The way Rudyard Kipling put it in his poem If is, if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. Yet, each setback and failure necessitates the readiness to pick ourselves up and step outside our comfort zones, and that means confidence and good character. Yet it's much easier to give up, playing it safe and small in our comfort zones, and that is perhaps the only failure, when we give up in the absence of good reason. So, what's the problem behind the problem? The underlying problem is our unhealthy and often dysfunctional relationship with failure, where we are programmed into seeing failure as bad, unacceptable, something to be ashamed of and avoided. Instead of a conditioned fear of failure, we can develop a love of failure, with each setback embraced as a gift from which we can learn. So, what is our readiness to navigate failure? Besides our stereotypical struggles with confidence, which massively undermines our readiness to navigate failure, is this. Learning how to deal with life and failure is only possible if we experience failure and find our way, as painful as it might be, through the learning process. Yet, not only do we opt out of this learning process ourselves, many of our social institutions opt out of this learning for us. In many societies, the possibility of failure is taken away from us through short-sighted, overdone protection, where, for example, competitive sports are discouraged, where academic standards are optional, or where youth is rewarded for nothing more than participation. And the question is, at what cost? When youth do not experience failure and never learn to navigate failure, they are unlikely to develop the strength of character to handle setbacks and defeat in life. Entrapped in an echo chamber of false achievement, what follows is weakness and a lack of readiness for life, setting people up for failure. And this is entirely optional. In summary, failure in life is inevitable, and rather than something to fear, failure is something to embrace as a catalyst for learning, achievement, and happiness. To rob young people of the opportunity to experience failure and learn to navigate failure with discretion and good grace is a surefire recipe for a lack of readiness for life. With real confidence, we welcome failure as a transitory blip to learn from, readying ourselves for the next blip as we tenaciously strive towards our goals. Thank you. I wish you all the best discovering your magic in your stretch zones. Trust yourself, be yourself, and enjoy yourself. Bye now.